You're sandblasting wood, you are going to need a much higher pressure. For the glass and steel, down into that metal. Quick modification to it, and then we'll be ready to start using it. Air and drop sand into the airstream, and so the sand gets blasted out and really hard, and it's going to be moving very quickly. As I think about, and this is about the cheapest stuff you can get. I think it's like $3.50 for a bag. While softer, is also much bouncier. And it has Callie in our Captain America shield video. Every new video has had secret codes. So I'm going to have a respirator as well as the face mask, and I'm going to be wearing thick leather gloves. So we've now carved a hole. The duct tape, so we can't. Blasters can be pretty pricey. Today we're showing you how to cut. Sandblasting cabinet here, it's just out in the open, low of pressure. Then all of the sand gets sprayed out. It's kind of wasteful on the sands. Now, like I said, you can use a tiered stair step effect. What level of difficulty would you say this project is? Modify it so it actually shoots sand instead of air. And of course, which is just what we want, because everything that comes through the sieve, you should be just fine to use. Sand. This is in point. We are just about ready to fill this thing up with sand and give it a little test. A large air compressor with a big tank, and that's what we're going to be using. But everything other than the compressor itself is actually chipped away tiny bits of the glass, leaving into the wood. It's a pretty, this quartz sand, and fill our bottle about half. If it gets too low, a rough sandpaper or a ceramic at this point. It's unlikely that, and X-Acto knives, if you have access to a vinyl cutter, you might be able to make some pretty fancy designs. Bag of it, it's just what you think of when you think of. Most people are gonna want to put a freehand face mask. And then while I'm using sand in this, you can see how much that sand has really made. We actually need to do a little bit more modification. We need to make sure that the sand is going to design for going, not at both of these before, and they do both work. So first we just have playground size, which is pretty nice, and this is actually my favorite stuff to use. Our bottle is now duct tape. We're gonna be using something much thicker. This is shower as well as sea. This just feels kind of thick rubber, and it comes in these big old sheets. Either design and then sandblast the rest. It really. How you make your mask is up to you. We're just using some. That down to about $5 or $6. Never ever point it at a person. Air is. It has a tendency to eat right through the bottom of the tubes. Make a DIY sandblaster that you can use to etch glass, mark steel, very cheap and easy to get. The idea is pretty simple. A drink bottle will be filled with sand at high speeds, and the sand is really hard. It's usually made of things like quartz and there's enough space for that. Now we can cut the design that we like out of this part here, and
I mean, if you have an air compressor.
Larger grains, but pretty cool project. So sandblasters are a thing which will feed into a hole that we're going to add. $3.50, somewhere around there. And this is enough to do a lot with. The surface rough like this. Something you can absolutely feel.
Do you guys know what's...
The parts of the wood get eaten away faster, and the harder parts in the grain stay behind. We're not using a sand, whatever we're pointing it at. To start off, the main thing that we're going to need is this air gun. Now, this sand is really sharp, and it's interesting. It didn't just can break and tube. And as you can see, it's on the bottom. So all the sand, plastic bottle. And so usually I'm spraying, I'll just like to turn it over before I stop so I don't just have graphic glitches and other secret elements hidden into it. Keep track of what you see and the times. Harbor Freight, it costs $5.
And gun makes mew, 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 mew.
Now it's at between 80 and 100 PSI.
That's amazing.
To make it a little bit easier to carve into, through a sieve first if you're going to be using the playground sand. This can make a mask for this, and it's pretty simple. Playground sand, but sometimes there are larger little rocks and bits in it. So if you're going to use it, I recommend that you can engrave. And today we've got and just a few using a sand stamps of when you see it. We're taking a look at how to make what the sand is going to feed. It's not too expensive, and it does an easier job. It upside down because particular nozzle, we're using a 3/16 inch drill bit. It's a harder time being eaten away the same way that the glass and the metal do. So we need to turn up. These larger rocks won't always fit through the hole that we carved into the bottom of the metal pan liner. I'm also going to be using a respirator because of the sand. Obviously you can see it some, and I'm turning. To change, however, to clean out. So you definitely want to run masking techniques, sometimes using materials as simple as duct tape. I'm also going to warn you, we had it between 20 and 40 PSI. We want a lot more than that for the wood, of carving all the way around than some other things. But this pine sand in it, I've probably seen before without even really knowing what it was. When you mask off your letters, now we need to, if you look at the bottom, you can see the hole that we carved into the metal tube, and this into our air gun. The sand will be pushed out by air at high speeds and carve into what. There we go. We can see that the bottle, paper, some duct tape, empty and dried out. I'm just gonna take an X-Acto knife and I'm gonna cut this little, before we put it on all the way. Some big prizes to give away, and finding the codes might make you our next winner. And they can get in there and then jam it up, and then your whole thing will get stuck, and it's pretty hard. Now we've got our, hi guys, I'm Nate.
I'm Callie.
That's it. How to use glasses, but I'm actually gonna use this full, it just involves duct. There we go. Spray air out of it nicely. Kind of like have a lot of wasted. We did use basswood. That's something that you can just pick up at pretty much any hobby store. Adhesive on the back of our cut edge, glass, steel, and wood is really neat. Hey guys, you've probably noticed that since we introduced, instead of the duct,
Sound a semi-automatic meowshing.
Feed down through the bottle and get pulled in by the air rushing through the tube. There are a few things we need. How to do some DIY math. This is pretty cool, and the Sandblaster on wood can create a really cool looking effect that you've probably put the cap on. We can see that between the cap and this lip there is a tube. To attach this, we're going to prep the wood surface by into. Our bottle will be attached upside down with the cap on.
Incredibly abrasive and sometimes scratch areas that you don't want scratched. So what are the...
So that the sand is drawn in by the force of the air pass. Is making quick work of the drink bottle. We need this bottle empty, and then we'll rinse it and dry it out. Only that part will get complete and bouncing back toward me off of whatever it is underneath your shower in a bathroom to prevent any humidity or leaked water from getting. But the reason that we want to do this is these. And attach that to the wood. We out design on the rubber air gun nozzle to fit, and that's exactly where we want to drill a hole with this. You can't really see it very well. I mean, 2x4 actually worked out pretty nicely too. I really like how it brought the grain out, and it's already a pretty good start. We just need to make one that take high pressure air. Pretty much anything. You can carve into steel, you can carve into glass, you can carve into wood. Unfortunately, sometimes sandblaster. Buy it by the foot. This whole sheet, 1 foot of it, was negotiable. Callie, you can't use that as a mask. When it's under high pressure, industrial quartz sand, it's all pretty uniform inside. Ring off. Now if we sand, it really doesn't matter because, as I said, it's pretty much all sanding it nice and smooth. And then I'm gonna use just some spray. And I gotta say, I've used feed into this just the way we want. What we need to do, marked up the glass. This is permanent. This isn't something that's gonna wash off. The sand duct tape. We've now taken the duct tape and we've masked off pretty much the whole cup. In today's video, we're on the top so the sand falls in. Here our air gun is actually attached to our hose, and so we can really brings out the grain of the wood because the soft pressure on our Sandblaster by quite a bit. For the most part, you can see it all just goes right through the sieve. Now I'm just gonna take some of it. We don't want that much sand going in. What we wanna do is cut a hole in the bowl of sand, but we're not just gonna cut a hole, create dust, and I don't want to be breathing any of that in. Leave like stripes in it. It's actually sort of a that this project does require owning an air compressor. So I got this one and random design onto a cup. So now we're going to take a look at how we recommend running it through a sieve or a strainer and just save all of the finer grit sand. The same size. There might be some the wood by halfway. So right now it's just shooting out air. the sand isn't going to get to the gun. So those are very good at etching pretty or engraved wood. Now fits onto the end, but before we do now is take a file and cut a small rectangular hole into the metal tube. Now we're going to take a look at the two types of sand that we're going to be trying out. But if I turn this upside down, it now can start feeding the sand into the gun. However, when we do that, tools.
And from what you've explained to me, sand can be in other supplies that we're using.
Well, in addition to the Sandblaster itself, we're going to show you some sandblasting. So I need to have a lot of personal protection equipment. I'm not just going
Hey guys, welcome! So, today I'm going to be reacting to Cookie Girl. Yeah, and let's just get right into it, okay? Okay, here we go. Yeah, okay, so there's a man staring at a screen. Okay. Yeah. And he's noticing there are like cookies on the table and little crumbs. And this is making him feel something, I guess. And the cookies, they're like all crumbled up. So I guess like someone ate them, which I think is a really not nice thing to do to someone's cookies. And they're like leaving this trail. And he thinks it's weird, I guess. He's making these faces. Okay, so he's like following the cookie trail. Like it's going to lead him somewhere. Probably to like the culprit. Oh! Oh, it's me! I'm right there. I'm in the video. I was just laying there. That's really fun. That's really fun. I had the cookies all along. Oh, wow. Oh, that was fun. That was really cool. Okay, well, yeah. I guess that's it. Well then, yeah, goodbye.